When I retired at 48, I thought I knew exactly what retirement would feel like. For most of my life, the only version of retirement I ever saw was the cliche: beaches, travel, a permanent vacation. I honestly thought that was the whole point. Work hard, then float through your days doing whatever you wanted. So when I finally stepped into early retirement, I expected it to feel exactly like that. I was wrong. And honestly, the things that I got wrong surprised me more than the things that I got right. So today I want to walk you through the biggest retirement myths I believed before I retired and what actually happened once I stepped away from work for good. The first retirement myth was I would be bored. When I first retired, I gave myself a full month to do absolutely nothing. I was in my robe for half the day. I journaled for hours every morning, made late breakfasts, and took long afternoon walks through the park and walked through my Airbnbs just to give myself something to do. And then slowly it shifted. I realized how luxurious a slow day can feel. Running errands in the middle of the weekday, like going to Costco and actually finding a parking spot, and being in and out of that store within 30 minutes without wanting to scream, that felt incredible. Then I took a ceramics class, something I'd wanted to do since high school. It was genuinely relaxing and gave me a little accomplishment every week. Eventually, I started this YouTube channel, the one I had always hoped would actually get views, and now I finally had time to study how to be a good creator, iterate, and get better. I wasn't bored, I was just unfolding. The second retirement myth: I'd lose my friends and be lonely. This one was both true and not true. You do start to have less in common with people who are still working full-time or raising families. Their lives are highly structured. Yours suddenly isn't. But the loneliness wasn't about losing people. It was about realizing I had to build a new routine, new connections, and a new sense of purpose. You don't think about that part until you are actually living it. The third retirement myth was I'd lose my identity. Before retiring, my identity was rooted in my work. I was a director. People needed me all the time. Once I walked away, however, that demand disappeared overnight. And it was very jarring. And it did affect my ego a bit, I'm not gonna lie, because I didn't realize how tightly I had been holding on to that role. But the flip side was this: the peace and quiet I stepped into showed me how much I had been craving calm. That's what made me lose all interest in consulting. I just didn't want to return to that version of myself. I enjoy who I am more now. Between my YouTube channel, my Airbnbs, and actually having time to breathe, my identity didn't shrink, it reshaped. The fourth retirement myth was I'd lose my purpose. I used to think purpose meant productivity. It turns out purpose can mean joy too. Airbnb hosting gives me purpose because I'm creating experiences that become part of people's real lives. Wedding guests who return year after year, repeat guests who bring their dogs, a woman who visits her son at college and always stays with me. Curating those stays, it matters. And then YouTube surprised me by becoming another kind of purpose. Seeing how these videos help people adjust to retirement or prepare for it, that's meaningful to me, and it motivates me to keep going. Purpose, it didn't disappear for me, it just showed up in new places. The fifth retirement myth: I can't retire unless my spouse retires too. My boyfriend is still working a 9-to-5. We didn't retire at the same time, and honestly, it's totally fine. We still split most of our bills, and when we go out, he just usually pays now. He was actually the one who told me to stop looking for a new job when nothing was panning out. He saw it before I did. It does feel a little weird sometimes because he gets up at 5 a.m. to drive into work while I sleep in. And there's definitely some guilt in me in that. But we've got a plan and it works for us. He'll work a couple more years while I build up side hustle income, and it's a partnership more than anything. It's not a race. The sixth retirement myth: I need more money or I'll run out of money. This myth comes from fear and not math. Most of us assume we'll feel ready when our accounts hit a certain number. But the truth is, fear does not go away when the balance goes up. For me, confidence came from lowering my fixed costs and knowing my actual expenses. It came from structure and planning, not hitting a magic dollar amount. The seventh retirement myth: I can't work at all if I retire. Some people in my comments love to say that I'm not really retired, that I just switched jobs. That's just not how I see it. I always knew I wasn't going back to a 9-to-5 once I left. My working life, the required part, is over. Now if I work, it has to be something I enjoy. That's why consulting just didn't stick for me. I'm not in that phase of life anymore. You can retire and still create. You can retire and still have projects. In fact, you need to grow. Optional work still counts as retirement. The eighth retirement myth: I can't leave because I love my job. You can love a job and still outgrow it and retire. I loved my team. I loved the work. I loved the impact. But loving a job doesn't obligate you to give it your entire life. You're allowed to choose yourself, which is what I did. The ninth retirement myth: I have to be a certain age before I retire. Age isn't what decides when you're done. That certainly wasn't true for me. It was just math. Lifestyle chose, health, values. I retired almost 20 years early because the formula just worked, not because the calendar said it was time. The 10th retirement myth: I'm too important at work to retire. This one used to feel true because I did leave at the height of my career. Our results of my team, they exceeded expectations. I gave everything I had, and so did my team. But that's exactly why I felt so much peace when it was time to walk away. I left knowing that I had done truly excellent work. And the workplace just moves on, life moves on, but your life, my life, I only get one. So if you're preparing for retirement or early retirement, I think the biggest gift that you can give yourself is honesty. Some things will be better than you imagine. Some things will be harder. But all of this is part of the transition. If this helped, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next video. And let me know in the comments which retirement myth surprised you the most. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.